Good evening, and thank you all very much for coming tonight. It, as everything always is by divine providence, the fact that just 2 weeks after our family suffered such an enormous tragedy, we were blessed by Hashem, who had planned 12 years in advance that Musia's Bat Mitzvah will be celebrated this weekend. I think it fits in to Rivki's motto of her email that in the end it'll be okay, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. And this was Hashem's way of perhaps giving my parents an opportunity to travel out of the immediate confines of their everyday life to spend time with their grandchildren, their favorite grandchildren. And they have 4 sets of favorite grandchildren. But definitely their favorite grandchildren on the African continent. And when I said that we would be having a memorial evening for Rivki, because I was truly overwhelmed by the flood, if I could call it that, of emails and messages and calls and WhatsApps, and it really did make me feel so couched in warmth and love. And I said we'd be having an evening together. I didn't even realize that we'd be able to have my parents here with us, and it's very special that they'll be able to share just a little bit of what I've been blessed to have from them for the better part of the last 39 years, of giving us that power and that strength of a smile through the best and the worst of what life brings. But just in terms of the topic of tonight, the strength of a smile, where does it come from? And where do we pick that topic from? They're not just great parents, but also great grandparents. And during Shiva, my mother's number one worry was, how are the grandchildren? Especially, I should say, the ones living in America, my brother Yassi and my sister Chanee's children, who grew very, very, very close to Rivki, and some of them almost on a close friend basis. And so what we did was, although over the course of the 7 days, over 2,000 people came through the house, literally from 7 in the morning till 12 at night, we had a few hours before the older boys of my nephews went back to yeshiva, where my parents went into the basement, where that was the family hangout, and just them and the grandchildren sat together. And on the one evening, one of the kids were asking, Bobby, what should we do when we're going to go back to yeshiva, and all of our friends are just going to be smiling, and everything's going to be regular, and we're not going to feel comfortable smiling. So she said, I'll tell you, when you're feeling bad and you want to feel better, what's the easiest thing to do? Is to eat chocolate. Right? Eat chocolate to feel better. What's going to happen an hour later? Or a day later? Do you still feel good about the chocolate? Not really. But if you're feeling like you can't smile, if you find a friend in school who's not smiling, and you help them smile, that smile that you give them, that will help you an hour later and a day later, and that will help you smile even more. To which one of the grandchildren said, okay, so basically, Bobby, what you're saying is, if you're feeling down, find a friend and eat chocolate with them. So the power of the smile is truly something very, very unique. And as you notice in the program guide, the topics that my parents have sort of divided between themselves is the strength of my smile, what it takes to bring that smile from within, and the strength of your smile, what it takes to bring a smile to someone else's face. But what I've heard, I think literally from everyone, is that from having seen Rivki on the videos in the various places and her talks, she sounds like such a special person. It would have been so beautiful to know her. And we are lucky that we have in our community somebody who is not only friends with Rivki, but actually a classmate of hers, Rabbi Chanee Shlomo. So before my parents speak, I asked Chanee if she could just share with us a few of her reflections, not as a parent or a sibling, but just a classmate of my dear sister Rivki. So, listen, Chanee.
Good evening, everybody. I met Rivki when we were studying together in Israel, and then spent the next year working with her in Stamford, Connecticut, with her parents, Rabbi and Rebbetzin Darren. I speak here tonight on behalf of Rivki's friends, and I'm grateful to be able to call myself one of Rivki's friends. Truth is, everyone was Rivki's friend. She had an incredible ability to create meaningful friendships. And I think this was largely due to her pure zest for life, which was all the more outstanding considering what life had dealt her. I remember in seminary in Israel, she spent a few months in and out of the hospital with her incredible parents right at her side. She had an oxygen tank she had to carry around with her, and just the walk sometimes from the dormitory until the classroom was a daily battle. But none of this stopped Rivki from living life to the fullest. She didn't just survive, she thrived. The friends that she amassed during this time has created a WhatsApp group right after she passed away. We shared stories and memories and even started a monthly shiur in her honor. The common denominator from everyone's memories of Rivki was her love and her zest for life, notwithstanding her difficult conditions. How she never viewed herself as a victim or a sufferer, but rather she lived life to the fullest. She refused to be pitied and demanded to be treated like everybody else, and she succeeded. The result of her attitude was an endless vibrancy which was infectious, and this naturally drew people towards her. I remember once, a few years ago, with my husband, we visited Rivki in the hospital in Raleigh, in North Carolina. We sat in the hallway chatting with her, and literally every doctor, nurse, janitor, and other patients that walked by stopped to greet her for a chat. It was very clear that she had a meaningful friendship with each and every one of them. She knew them, and they knew her. A close friend of mine was tailoring her dress right after Rivki passed away at a Spanish dressmaker in Brooklyn. She was on the phone talking about Rivki, and when she hung up, the clearly non-Jewish Spanish lady in the middle of Brooklyn said to her, "You're talking about Rivki, right?" She said, "I knew her well. She came to me often, and she was my good friend." That was Rivki. I want to thank Rivki, for she taught me a very valuable, important life lesson. To never allow my circumstances to define me, but rather to gather the strength and to define my own circumstances. Rivki's attitude came from a profound emunah she learned from her parents, and that I see mirrored by the Darrens here in Bloberg. It is the belief that our struggles come from Hashem, and He gives us the strength too to persevere. And Rivki said it best. We all know she said, "Everything will be good at the end, and if it's not good, it's not the end." Rivki, I miss you, and I hope that we will see each other very soon with the coming of Mashiach.
Thank you, Chanee. I'll let you know now, you actually have something else to thank Rivki for, and that's a job. When Rabbi Shlomo came to Cape Town, and the high school was totally enamored with him and were very positive about bringing him to South Africa, the idea came up, well, what about the Rebbetzin? And we all know that a rabbi is only as good as his Rebbetzin. And especially here at the Sinai Academy, we desperately wanted a Jewish studies teacher, and you meet over the phone and you Skype. But if you don't really know someone, how do you make that call? So I called Rivki, who I knew was a friend of Chanee. I said, Rivki, Zizi was looking into bringing Chanee to teach at the Sinai Academy. What do you think? And she said, Oshi, tell Zizi, grab her. So, you come on very good recommendation.